All right, this video is going to show you how you take your fork and shadow images and use your burning and dodging tool and other editing tools in order to create something like this. So make sure you take a look at your editing the fork images. I put some of the directions in order to help you, and then also if you think that your images or something like this, like what not to do, you can take some more pictures so that you have something better to work with. Especially you need that shadow. All right, so we're going to start off with doing your image size. So you go to image, image size, and this is already somewhat small, but I'm going to change it to 5 by 6, and I'm going to go OK. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to apply what's called a sharpen filter. This is probably something that you haven't done. The sharpen filter will help actually make the image look a little bit more in focus. So I'm going to duplicate my background first so that I'm not working on my main image. I do that by going Control J, or you can go Edit, Copy. And I'm going to go to where it says Filter, and I'm going to go to where it says Sharpen, and I'm going to go to Smart Sharpen. On the Smart Sharpen, you can see where it has amount and it has radius. Your radius is the number of pixels and your amount is the amount that you are sharpening. So I can move this down a little bit. I would not sharpen more than 2 or 3 pixels. And you have the preview button, so it will tell you don't want it to look over sharpened, and press OK when you like it, and this just shows you the difference between the sharp and the unsharp. So there's unsharp, and that's what's sharpened. Remember, your history is recording everything that you did, so you can always go back by going Control Z and undoing, or you can click in your history. The next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to crop my image. I still want to keep it proportionate, but I'm going to crop a little bit of this negative space out. Once I finish cropping my image, I'm going to convert it into black and white. So let me crop it. Don't quite want to make it a square. And I'm going to go down to my adjustment layers. I'm going to go to where it says black and white, and I'm going to make a black and white image. You can then, if this pops up for your black and white, click on the greater than and less than arrows in order to move it out of the way. Next, I'm going to go with my levels. I'm going to go back into the bottom there in my adjustments. I'm going to go to levels, and the black is my shadows, the white is my highlights, and the gray is my midtones. I'm going to bump up my shadows, and I'm also going to bump up my highlights. And I kind of bring them to the end of the mountain there. My midtones, you can play around with that a little bit. I'm going to brighten it up and bring it over to the dark towards my shadows. And then once I like it, I am going to click on the greater than less than sign to get rid of it. And again, these are non-destructive edits, so you can delete this if you made a mistake. And remember, it's within your history as well. The next one that you can work with is your brightness contrast. Remember, your brightness is the overall light or dark or brightness of your picture. The contrast is the difference between your shadows and your highlights. So if I move this all the way over, you can see how it's making my shadows much darker, and brightness is the overall brightness of the picture. All right, so now I pretty much like how my image looks, but I want to darken that shadow, and I just want to darken that fork shadow. I don't want to make anything else dark. So what I'm going to do now, I have all of these adjustment layers, and I want to work with my burning and dodging tools, which are over on the left-hand side of my toolbar, and I can't work with any of those tools on my actual adjustments. So what I need to do is I need to flatten my layer. So you can do that by going Control-Alt-Shift-E, or you can just go to Layer and you can go down to Flatten Image. And then it flattens all that. You also can just go to Layer and you can go to Merge Down. And what that will do is it will merge everything into one, and then you'll be able to see your stuff afterwards. It's however you want to do it. I usually do Control-Shift-E and I merge visible. Whoops. There we go. All right. Now, the first one is the burning tool. The burning tool, when you click on it up at the top menu bar here, you'll see where it says range, midtones, exposure 50%. The exposure is how dark it's going to be. The burn tool darkens something. It's adding time, or it's adding more exposure to the image. So I want to darken this. Whoops, make sure you're on the layer. I want to darken the fork. So I'm going to go to my burn tool. And I'm also going to make my brush a little bit soft on the edge. I'm going to zoom in and notice as I go over these dark areas, I'm darkening the shadow of the fork. If I want to make it darker, I can go to where it says shadows and I can start working with the shadows. And if I want to increase my exposure, I can click on the exposure and I can increase exposure, and that is going to make it darker, much darker, faster. So it's up to you, and it's going to make it up to what your photo looks like and how you want your photo to look in order to decide how dark you want it to be. I'm going to go to my shadows for this one. There we go. That's going to make it really dark. And I'm trying not to touch the fork because I don't want to darken the fork. If you do, Control-Z to undo. You can see the before and after. And there are some dark areas within the background, and I want to make that brighter and add more contrast, and that would be dodging. So the dodge tool does the opposite. The dodge tool is going to brighten. So I'm going to go into my highlights in this case. I'm going to keep this exposure at 50%, and I'm just going to go around. Again, I'm trying to stay away from the actual fork because I don't want to lighten that up. And I'm going to get rid of some of that dark area so that I have the contrast of just the shadow and the white background. And of course, if there's areas within the fork that you think got too dark, you can go over it as well. But here is the final image. And if you go all the way, here's what we started off with, and here's what we finished with. So make sure that you save as you're working. I'm going to export this as a JPEG, but if you were still working, you might want to save as a Photoshop file so that you have all your layers, so that if you don't like what you do, you can delete it. But make sure you check your editing sheet that I put there for your help, and also the assignment sheet, because that can help you with taking your pictures. Good luck.